What's the average age of the child approximately?
So it depends where you're at. In the U.S., it's about 12 to 14. I think in countries like Colombia, Mexico, you get down to 12. And the average age, Hawaii is actually one of the worst in the world. If it were its own country, it would be one of the worst. It's as low as 8 to 11 is we're seeing average ages in Hawaii, believe it or not. So we're trying to do some work out there.
How do you account for that? I mean, in Hawaii, people, is it a cultural thing? Is it a tourist destination? That I was in Hawaii 2 weeks ago, saw a lot of tourists, but I wasn't in Bangkok, like maybe you go to Hawaii with less suspicion if you're doing this practice, if you're a consumer.
Yeah. So Hawaii is got all sorts of problems, one of which is that it's very difficult to do undercover work out there because everybody knows everybody. It's almost, it's any kind of trafficker who knows what they're doing is going to have a cousin on the police force.
Oh,
and so
I see.
it's very tribal, very close knit, and so it's difficult to do undercover work. And if you can't do undercover work, that's the key to the whole thing. I mean, that's why I named my foundation Operation Underground Railroad. You can't do this work without infiltrating. It's got to be undercover work.
So the movie comes out. The movie catches everyone sort of off guard. The movie becomes a huge sensation. And then almost immediately the backlash starts. Now, I'm still confused by how, for instance, I don't know how our society works. Like, I do know Rolling Stone is going to hate the movie and write all sorts of horrible things about the movie, but I'm not sure why they have to, because from a layman's standpoint, I'm like, well, this guy's doing God's work, and who wouldn't be for this, and who wouldn't applaud Tim Ballard? But I know Rolling Stone and progressive publications are going to be against it. But is it just because the people who are involved are religious? Is it because they assume they're conservative, and then if they're conservative, they must be MAGA voters or something? Like, what is the inspiration behind the left attacking this movie, which there could be no... there's controversial subjects, saving kids of the world from being enslaved.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be one of them.
But you know what? It is actually controversial, and that's why they're doing it, in my opinion. When we did the actual operation in Colombia on October 11th, 2014, Rolling Stone and The Guardian and all those who are hating on the film, they did glowing reports about it.
Right.
Nothing changed. The story never changed. But 10 years later, when it's on the big screen, now there's a problem with it. And then the problems, of course, are all fabricated. It's this, it's QAnon, blah, blah, blah. And then it's not anything. It's a controversial topic because there's a movement right now. And I don't want to sound conspiratorial, but it's what I see happening. Children are being targeted right now. Children are being, in my opinion, enslaved in the name of being liberated by the left. They're being, they're given sex material, pornography, really. I mean, in public schools. I mean, I could have arrested under certain federal statutes back when I was an agent. People could have arrested them for giving to children what teachers in California and other states are giving them. And then you have this issue with, the trans voice, I call it, on these children. I mean, I have 9 children. I wouldn't let my 13-year-old consent to do what she's going to do on a Friday night, let alone, have genital, surgery removal. This is all puts children. This forces a conversation about what is happening to children. 85,000 unaccompanied minors, 5,000 or thousands of them under 5 years old, just in the last 2 years under the Biden administration, are lost into the belly. So Sound of Freedom forces that conversation, and they don't want to have it.
Right, and it forces a conversation about the border.
Yep.
And they don't want to have that conversation. So, I mean, you can tell me if you think this is accurate, but when trying to unravel the COVID chapter we just passed through, I was sort of looking at it saying, well, why does Rolling Stone magazine have such hot takes on ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, or when did it become sort of weaponized and politicized? And then I realized that they were so sort of crazed with Trump derangement syndrome that if you said, I don't think my 9-year-old kid should get vaxxed, then you identified as a Republican. And once you identified as a Republican, you identified as a Trump supporter, and then you needed to be eliminated. So even if you're a virologist from Stanford and you said, I don't think shutting schools is a good idea, you showed your hand.
Right.
In their mind, and I have no idea what these people, to me, they're just virologists who have experience and don't think schools should be shut down. But in the mind of Rolling Stone and the left, they showed their hand as Republicans, and that's where the division started. And I'm wondering if a movie like this, because your movie and what you're doing is innocuous politically as COVID is. It's just, here's a problem. This guy's an expert. We're going to try to fix it. It's just leave schools open and don't close the beaches. But you are identifying as something in their mind. I don't even know if half the people were, but they identified them as that. And then they went after them and they tried to deplatform them.
Yes. And the same things happened here. I mean, I worked I've spent 10 years on the southern border fighting human trafficking, and everybody knew that border enforcement rescues children. It's a very simple concept, right? Just as simple as solutions being presented to COVID issues. A wall pushes traffic into a place where experts are waiting to find children. So you want walls, you want enforcement. It saves children. And I worked under two administrations, Obama and Bush, and there was everybody was building the wall and doing more enforcement. It was not political. It was not partisan. The Clinton administration actually has built more of the wall than anyone else. It wasn't partisan. It was a tool to rescue kids and seize drugs and do good by Americans and foreign children as well. When Trump touched it, I would, to your point, Trump derangement syndrome, when he touched it, now it's evil. Now it's bad. Now it can't be a good thing, border enforcement and the wall. It's mean, it's cruel, when in fact the only thing that's cruel is not enforcing the border and allowing children unaccompanied to just wander into our country that's producing and consuming more child exploitation material than anyone on the planet. So I think, to your point, they got political because of the hatred of one man.